All right.
Don't hold your breath on that one.
Okay. All right. Well, I was working on my cup earlier, so hopefully I'll be awake enough to deliver a talk this morning. Okay, if you would please tell us about fire.
Good morning. What we like is
candle in recognition of and appreciation for the Christ light within each of us and the presence of the divine in our gathering.
Thank you. Let's begin with a couple of announcements. We will not have a real estate team meeting tomorrow. It's not really a development, but it continues to show intention on the part of the buyer. They have chosen to purchase the building in the name of an LLC rather than their personal names, and that should not delay the closing. It should not delay the financing, but they are going to be purchasing the building under the Grow West LLC moniker. The buyers also deposited in our building their $1,000 share of the delayed mortgage payment. So that's all well and good. We have tomorrow night, we have the third of our 3 classes on spiral dynamics taught by Reverend Pat Beenema. And so that will be interesting for those of you who have participated in the past. My understanding is that we're going to have a lot more discussion tomorrow night than we have in the prior 2 weeks. Wednesday evening, prayer and meditation coming up at 7 o'clock. And on Friday, we have fellowship. So with all that then, Doug, if you would... give us Love is Flowing Like a River, and if you would mute your... I'll just go ahead and... if you would mute your own microphone, please. Doug? And our affirmation of living water unity, if you would like to join with your mics off, that would be great. Or with your mics on, that would be great. We'll have a cacophony, but that's fun. Together, please. Living water unity is a thriving spiritual community inspired through grace and share our good now. I am empowered to expressing God in each moment. Yay. All right. And who would like to share the daily word this morning?
Well, Clarence is volunteering.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Today is Sunday, August 30th, 2020. And today's word is light. The light of God surrounds me. When darkness casts shadows in my life or in the life of someone I care about, I call upon the divine light that lives within me and expresses as me. Just as the light of the sun illuminates the sky, the light of God illuminates my mind, brightens my soul, and warms my heart. Even during life's darkest moments, the light of God is always shining within me, just as it shines within all people. Basking in this light, I find the strength and power to lift myself up. Through acts of service and loving kindness, I can be the light that helps guide others through any darkness they may be facing. Every smile, kind word, thoughtful deed, or offer of help has the potential to brighten someone's day. And today's passage is from Psalm 112, verse 4. They rise in the darkness as a light for the upright. They are gracious, merciful, and righteous.
Thank you. And our affirming prayer is one that's shared across the Unity movement these days. But upon completion of this, I'll be asking for your contributed prayers or your prayer requests. And as we consider those prayer requests one at a time, remember to hold that prayer request in unconditional love, not with an intention to fix anything, but rather to allow that situation to be immersed in the consciousness and awareness of God's unlimited, unconditional love. So, we know that God is a love that has no end and a power that knows no bounds. God's healing power of divine life is restoring, healing, and revitalizing our world in this very moment. We let go of any fears or anxieties, and we affirm that all are safe, healthy, and protected. We bless all those who support us in maintaining vibrant, radiant health, and we express divine life in all we think, say, and do. We bless our global family with radiant health, peace of mind, and abundant love. And if you would, offer your prayer requests one at a time and hold those prayer requests in that awareness of unconditional love permeating the universe. Please. And I'm sure that there are prayer requests out there that are unspoken.
I have one.
Yes.
I would like us to pray for each other and for our church and we as a body, and as we approach this new situation that stands before us, that we make wise decisions and for the good of all and with God's guidance.
And so it is.
Little technological difficulty here in communication. This is Sandy. I would like to give thanks for the adjustment of my granddaughter in Lubbock, Texas, at college there. She was having a really, really rough time and now is doing much better, starting to get a little less afraid. And yay for Sydney. So that's my thanks.
And so it is.
I see a prayer in the chat from Connie, and just the name Gloria is there.
Gloria was a classmate of mine. She had some unfortunate news this last week. And so it is. And Connie, thank you for that prayer request. I'd like to offer a prayer for all of the frontline workers, and that's across the planet. Those that are there helping us maintain our safety and maintain our health. The frontline workers in the medical profession, the frontline workers in the distribution profession, those who are going back to school, those who are teaching, those who are administering the schools, those parents who are dealing with at-home education and all of the frustrations and trials that they are going through and the impact on their employment. We have tribulation permeating our planet. We just hold our entire planet in the context of, in the awareness of this unconditional love that we are swimming through, that we may open our eyes and feel it, see it, taste it, smell it, hear it. And so it is.
I'm having to go through, it's good though, I guess, the major issue of this life, or all my past lives, whatever. And I wanted to be just done with and healed totally.
And so it is. There are several people in the congregation that are dealing with health issues, perhaps some that I don't know about, some that I do. But without pointing them out and perhaps embarrassing them, just holding the congregation and its health in our consciousness and seeing each and every one of us thriving, healthy. And so it is.
I'd like to ask for the robust health and success of our U.S. postal system.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests? For all those prayers not spoken, for all of those people that are still struggling with isolation and the mental issues that come from that. We hold this whole community, our society, our planet, in our awareness of unconditional love. And so it is that Together we say amen. Well, walking the Rainbow Bridge. I find it interesting that our daily word this morning was light. And the idea of a rainbow is the emanation and reflection of light, the healing power that that light provides all of us in all of our situations, in all of our circumstances. A couple of weeks ago, I had a request for a piece of music that was shared at a convention a couple of weeks ago, and it's actually been a while since I've heard this. It turns out it fits right into our topic this morning. So let me share this with you.
Can't see nothing in front of me. Can't see nothing coming up behind. Make my way through this darkness. Can't feel nothing but this chain that binds me. Lost track of how far I've gone. How far I've gone, how high I've climbed. My back's a 60-pound stone. My shoulder half-mile of line. Come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands in mine. Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight. Left the house this morning. Bells ringing, filled the air. Wearing the cross of my calling. On wheels of fire I come roaring down here. Come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands in mine. Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight. Lie, 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 lie. There's spirits above and behind me. Faces gone, black eyes burning bright. May their precious blood bind me, Lord, as I stand before your fiery light. Light, 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 light. I see Mary in the garden of 1,000 sighs. There's holy pictures of our children dancing in a sky filled with light. May I feel your arms around me. May I feel your blood mixed with mine. The dream of life comes to me like a catfish dancing on the end of my line. Sky of blackness and sorrow, dream of life. Sky of love, sky of tears, dream of life. Sky of glory and sadness, dream of life. Sky of mercy, sky of fear, dream of life. Sky of memory and shadow, Dream of life, your burning wind fills my arms tonight. Sky of longing and emptiness, dream of life. Sky of fullness, sky of blessed life. Come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands in mine. Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight.
So, where were you on 9/11? I'll bet you remember exactly where you were. I do. I know I do. I was sitting on the edge of the bed watching one of the morning news programs. And the video of the plane crashing into the building was on the screen. Do you remember how you felt when that happened? Do you remember the sadness, the anxiety, the shock, the bewilderment that, oh my God, what is happening? Just thinking about it, I'm I'm grabbed by that experience. Even now, what is it, 19 years later? That sent a shockwave through our country, through our society. It shook the foundations of what we understood to be true. It catapulted us into this realm of, for most of us, a realm of fear. I know it was for me. The implications of what happened was not immediately clear to me. I just had this foreboding sense of, oh my God. Buddha spoke in the Four Noble Truths, the first two Noble Truths. The first one being that life is tanha. Life is suffering is how it's normally interpreted, but a more accurate interpretation would be something on the order of life is off-centeredness. Boy, did I feel off-centered that morning. And then the cause of that, in the second noble truth, the cause of that is the attachment that we have to whatever has been shaken or taken from us. And that solution he offers in the third noble truth of letting go of the attachment. And sometimes that's very, very difficult to do. The fourth noble truth, he points us to the Eightfold Path. And I'm not going to go down that route this morning because that is a worthy discussion in and of itself. But the idea that we have things in our lives that we're attached to, and when those things are taken from us, that causes us pain, that causes us tribulation. I'd like to open the floor up to getting some feedback from you as to what was it that we were attached to in that moment on 9/11/2001. Your thoughts?
Security.
Security. Yeah, that's a big one.
And safety.
Safety? What else?
The feeling that while many other countries in the world had suffered many terrorist attacks from outside the country we never had. And that suddenly it was all too possible and probable.
We lost our invulnerability, didn't we? Yeah. Security and safety, yeah. What else? Anything else
Life.
that you think? I'm sorry.
Life.
Life. Oh boy, yeah.
I looked out the window looking for mushroom clouds.
We didn't know at the time what the casualties would be, but seeing those two towers crumbling, knowing that it would be impossible for everyone to be out of those buildings, and seeing those people falling through the air, the people who had chosen to end their life by impact rather than by fire. It was devastating. It was devastating. Well, we have in the books that are in the book that is written by Quinn and Kahemza. Let me share with you in that book we have this idea of the bulletproof spirit. They share one of the oldest mythos containing the symbol of the bridge is that of the Rainbow Bridge, a Native American religious symbol that speaks of a way of life, a way of living wherein one stands between the destroyed world and the new world. And a very important difference that makes all the difference for the spiritually resilient people is that they quickly reframe the hits they take, these tribulations that they encounter, as bridges that are showing them the way to where they want or need to go. Their attention goes quickly and in a concerted way towards the new world that awaits them over the bridge. Let me, okay. The bridges hidden in hardships ultimately go to good places. They may bring you somewhere you never wanted to go, and they may take you into uncharted territory, but they always lead to a higher ground inside of you. Now, one might argue with that declaration in that third paragraph that they bring you somewhere you never wanted to go, and they always lead you to a higher ground inside of you. That higher ground inside of us is often referred to, dependent upon context, it was often referred to in unity as divine order. But the idea that we are moving out of our comfort zone and into a new way of being or into a new reality can be very scary for us. It's difficult for us to see as we're standing with these ashes all around us. It's difficult for us to see that there is something greater, something better, something more powerful, or something that is within this destruction, the seeds of resolution. I'd like to go back here for just a moment. Let's come back to our community here. And I'd like to ask you, hindsight is sometimes 20/20, sometimes 20/30, sometimes it's 20/60. But in hindsight, our experience with 9/11 had the seeds of resolution in it. And based upon the number of people that have been killed since 9/11, not just in our country, because of course there have been terrorist attacks that have followed on from 9/11. Nothing to that extent, but 15 here and 20 there and 5 there. But in retrospect, what seeds of resolution would you see in that circumstance of 9/11 that we missed? What realizations could have come out of 9/11 that were overlooked?
Why is it causing me that? Okay.
Go ahead.
Having been from New York, that was our home. And but I think we all realized how strong we really could be pulling out of all that and moving on. And we learned new ways of keeping our national security increased in better ways, and compassion. We were just back there a few years ago to see that memorial, and I was just amazed at the heroics and the resilience that I see in human people, just humankind, being able to pull up, rise up, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
I think another realization is that that was living in protected United States, and then having people around the world grieve for what was happening here with us on 9/11, because there were people from all over the world who were killed in those attacks. It was part of it, but it kind of helped us realize how connected the world was. Yes, we had the internet, but it really brought home how connected everybody is in the world when something like that happens.
And we see that with the COVID event as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what seeds of resolution were missed? What revelations could have come out of 9/11 that would have moved us in a different direction?
Actual care and concern for all human beings it was there momentarily, and it seems to have been lost over the last so many years.
In that event was demonstrated a great frustration, wasn't it? The frustration of a people, certainly the actors were a very minority group of people, but it allowed us the revelation, if we would pay attention, it would allow us the revelation that, maybe we really are maybe we really are invading the culture of other people. Maybe our Western culture is not for all people. Remember that occurred right in the midst of the globalization push, where the Western culture was permeating through movies and through music and through various means, permeating into these other cultures. Whether or not we have the responsibility to impose our way of being, our way of thinking, our perspective, our worldview on other people is really a question that still bears to be considered. And if we had, and I'm just going to speculate here, and again, I'm not dissing any particular person or any particular leader, but I'm actually addressing our society as a whole. We have a tendency to think that we are the be-all, end-all of civilization, and that we are right in moving into these various places. I don't want this to be a political issue. I just want it to be a realization that maybe, just maybe, we in Western society have been arrogant to the extent that we are insistent upon our way of life being the way of life that everyone should follow. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. I offer it to you for consideration, because if that seed resolution had been paid attention to, how would we have responded? How would we have changed our response? I dare say that we would not have jumped to the mode of invasion. I think that we might have been better served if we had stepped back and say, that's interesting. Maybe we need to be a little bit more sensitive about how we invade other cultures. Okay, so the point that Quinn and Kahimza make is one that I'll share with you here. Let me come back. Okay. Bullets are built into the very fabric of life. They are an essential element of the human experience and not, as many people would believe, an aberration from the normal course of events. They are as necessary to the wholeness of life as are blessings. Resilient people understand that hits are not just the things that get in the way of real life. They are really what life is all about. I'd like to remind you that Jennifer Quinn and can't remember his first name, Camisa, her hit that she took in her life was the death of her fetus, and finding out that while they were intending to have a third child, had talked about the third child to the first two children, their family was shaken to its very foundation with the realization that she was carrying a dead fetus. And then Camisa, his son, his 20-year-old son, was killed by a gang murder. And that was, he had been recently divorced. He was an international banker. He had all the success that one could hope for in life, and his sole purpose for living was killed by a 9mm piece of lead fired by an unaware teenager who was part of a gang in San Diego. So they're familiar with hits. They go on to say that spiritually bulletproof people are as optimistic and positive as anyone. In fact, they're generally more so. But they also accept that suffering is part of the human condition because they see the growth and development that usually accompanies it as vital. They trust the wisdom of the universe and know that losses and crises serve a powerful purpose in our lives. So think about this perspective that they have, that hits are a normal course of life, that if you don't have the tribulation, you can't have the celebration. It is certainly it's certainly a difficult truth to come to realize, but well, so it is. some of you are familiar that our dog has been going through some difficult health issues. She had a tumor on her forehead that grew to be the size of a fist. On Wednesday, we had to put her down. That was way harder than I thought it was going to be. I've had 2 dogs in my, well, 3 dogs when I was a kid, and third when I was a kid. But this is the first time that we've ever had to make the decision to end our dog's life. Now, we've had cats in the past, and a couple of different cats we've had to put down, but this was particularly difficult. And I had no idea that it was going to be that hard. And out of that tribulation, what would be a seed of resolution that would come to me? I'll share with you mine, but I'd like to hear your thoughts about what seed of resolution could have arisen from our having to put down our good friend of 9 years.
Knowing she's not in pain or discomfort anymore.
And we made the decision, actually I made the decision based upon my observation of her responsiveness to life and times. It just seemed like she was done with it. In fact, I was out clearing the back seat of our car, getting ready to load her into it. I had a ramp that I was taking from the steps over to the seat so that she wouldn't have to climb up into the seat. And while I was out there clearing the back seat out of the car, taking the car seat out and some stuff that I'd brought back from the church, she had an explosion of a blood clot intranasal passage that literally spewed blood across the bedroom. We had, I was, on Friday, I spent 4 or 5 hours trying to clean it up. But what other seed of resolution might have come out of that?
When mine passed on, I had to put him down. I thought that, he's just going to move on to another life, and probably from the information I had at the time, that since he was so human-like, he would come back as a human, walking on 2 legs instead of 4.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, and maybe I'll see him again.
All right.
And yesterday I saw a dog that looked almost exactly like him.
Be careful. That's how we purchased this one. That's how we got this one. Was she looked like a prior dog that we had. So, what other seed of resolution might have come out of that?
One thing that I've heard in the past, and it relates to everything you were talking about today, at least for me anyway, is to be kinder than necessary, because everyone you meet is facing some type of challenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is basically the realization that I had. I know many of you have had to make that decision to put down your pet, and I didn't know how hard it was. As I said, we had a couple of cats. Cats are a little bit different, and not just a different species, but they're a different relationship, and at least for me. And when I hear someone say, I had to put down my pet, my dog, I have a much better understanding of what that means.
I felt the same way when my mother passed. I've had friends whose parents have passed away, and I didn't know how painful that was going to be, and it made me understand other people better. But yes, everybody is going through something, and something might be very, very hurtful and very, very sad, and we all go through these very painful times. And you don't know just by looking at someone who passed by what it is that just happened with them. So be kind no matter what.
And that's a big one. Out of that tribulation, out of that, standing on the destroyed shore and ready to walk across that rainbow bridge, which obviously is commonly referred to as the passing of a pet. But walking that rainbow bridge into that new reality in the context of the Native American myth is a challenging and a life-enhancing journey. It is one that if we pay attention to it, if we are willing to step back and say, what can I learn from this? We may in fact move into a reality that is far more full than we could imagine. Both of the authors of the book, Quinn and Camissa, they have started foundations to help those grieving mothers or would-be mothers and the loss of a child. They have two separate foundations that they are working with, but their life purpose has now been shifted from, he was a successful investment banker. That's not what he does. He is now focused on his foundation, the Tariq Camisa Foundation. And the fullness of life. Let me share with you a passage that comes out of our scripture, and it's a it's a passage that I have taken exception with in the past, but let me share with you. This comes from the book of Romans, and I'd like to just share with you the timeline. The book of Romans was written in the late 50s. Some say 58, some say 59. Let's just be accurate. We don't really know. It's in that time frame. But written by Paul in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verses 1 to 5. Therefore, since we are justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have attained access to this grace in which we stand, and we boast in our hope of sharing the glory of God. Now, let's back up and let's just take apart this a little bit. In Christian theology, justification is the act of God in the righteous act of God of washing away our sins. Okay, so because we have faith in this indwelling Christ presence, we have the peace of God that moves through us. Okay, so, and not only that, but we also boast in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint us because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that has been given to us. Now, Paul wrote this in the late 50s. You may recall that Paul's journey through his various ministries was often met with derision, with being literally driven out of the temple. And that was where he taught mostly. He would go into the Jewish synagogue, not the temple, but the Jewish synagogue, and he would teach the teachings that Jesus had offered, that the teachings that he understood that Jesus offered. And he would oftentimes be thrown out. Sometimes he would be chased out with stones flying his way. So he was familiar with this idea of suffering, and he's boasting in his suffering because he is in this context. He is saying, "Hey, look, I have stepped up. I have taken the stones. I have taken the derision. I have taken the hatred, but I am certain that through this process, I have developed my resilience. I've developed my ability to see through the negative and look for the positive." And even to the extent that when he was imprisoned in Rome, when he was let out, if you will, of his imprisonment, that when he was let out, when he was imprisoned, distracted by the screens here, when he was imprisoned in Rome, he was nonetheless celebrating the fact that he had the experience to be able to teach this idea that in the seeds of in the ashes of destruction there are the seeds of resolution. So we have then our opportunity to recognize that the tribulations that we face in life are the opportunities that we have to move through those tribulations, to move through the destruction that we've experienced, to move through that shaking of our reality into a new reality that is more full, it is more vibrant, it is more alive than our prior stages of our journey. And that's what I'd like to end with, that the stuff that we go through is the stuff from which we can form our new reality, form our new way of being, form our new consciousness. Because indeed, the character that is developed in the recognition that life is tribulation, and it is our attachment to the outcome that causes the pain, we can then step back and say, oh, okay, I need to turn my attention to what is good, what is positive, what is powerful out of this experience into this new reality. I'd like to share with you some music from. Well, let's before we do that. No, let's go ahead and do it. I love this song. We'll appreciate it perhaps in the context of what we've just talked about. Israel Kamakavi Bole.
Somewhere dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Well, I see trees of green and red.
I'm not sure what happened there. We'll go back. Oops. Let's reshare. Oh, I know. We're coming back. Patience. Oh. Yeah, no kidding.
Well, first I just thought that they were freckles, very unattractive blob things on my face. Makes me feel like a devil.
Right. I know. Even out of this destruction can come some revelation.
You find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I'll watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. way up high. The dreams that she dared to, why, oh why can't
And with that, let's have our meditation. Maestro, if you would. There you are. Okay. As we allow ourselves to center in this awareness that we are resting in the heart of God, we are resting in this sea of unconditional love. As we realize that in our destruction, in the tribulation of our lives, when it appears there are ashes all around us, we can find those seeds of resolution. I'd like you to bring to mind some experience that you've had in the past that has been difficult, challenging. It has shaken your world. And I'd like you to revisit that situation. Go ahead and feel the feelings that you were feeling. Recognize that those feelings are what they were. They were neither good nor bad. They were indicative of how you were responding to that circumstance. And regardless of how you responded to that circumstance, I'd like you to just delve to see if there were some unnoticed seeds of resolution in that circumstance. Look for the realizations that might have arisen. Perhaps consider the causes of that tribulation, of that foundation-shaking event. And look for the possible alternative actions you may have taken, or at least the lessons that you might have learned. Allow your hearts to open, even though there may have been fear that was causing that was caused by that circumstance. Maybe there was sadness. Maybe there was just outright life-changing destruction. But just consider that there were also revelations that might have been discovered, might have been overlooked. Revisiting that circumstance in your mind is not one that's going to cause that to happen again, but it does afford you the opportunity of gaining something that you might have not yet gained. Perhaps there is a power that was revealed in that destruction. Perhaps there was a relationship that was affected in that destruction. And with hindsight, how could that have been handled differently? Or what lessons could have been learned? And it is also important to hold yourself in that unconditional love. Perhaps you didn't do as you would like to have done. Perhaps you didn't act in a way that in retrospect would have been more effective. So give yourself that unconditional love. Offer that you did the best you could at the time. Forgive yourself. And bring that realization forward into your life today. Allow that realization, whatever it is, allow that seed of resolution to bring forward and to inform your consciousness today. You are a child of God. You are blessed with the presence of that indwelling Christ. The guidance of God is available to you once you open yourself up to that realization that we are truly the children of the Most High. We truly are the vehicles of God's power in this world. We really are the expression of God's love when we choose to be. And know that making that choice costs us nothing. It is ours, free. And for this realization, we give thanks. And so it is that together we come back into this time and space and appreciate that which was, even if it was painful at the time. And here it is, now. And we can say, thanks. How are you feeling? Okay. Let me...
Very good. Forgiven.
Let me